Choose one phoenix now before your mind begins to explain what your eyes already know. Your choice reveals a recurring pattern, a quiet way you protect yourself, seek love, resist change, or wait for permission to become someone new. The phoenix is an ancient image of renewal, but its deeper power comes from a difficult truth. Rebirth asks us to release a form that once kept us safe. That form may be a role, a mask, a habit, or a defense that helped you survive pain yet now limits the life trying to emerge through you. This is why a Jungian test can feel strangely personal, even when it begins with something as simple as color, posture, fire, and light. Jung believed that symbols often reach the hidden parts of the psyche before ordinary reasoning can name what is happening. So do not search for the best phoenix, the strongest phoenix, or the one you think a certain kind of person should choose. Do not overthink it. Simply choose one from 1 to 5. Let the first pull, warmth, discomfort, fascination, or sudden certainty guide you. First impressions matter here because logic usually arrives afterward, carrying explanations shaped by taste, expectation, and the persona you show the world. Your first reaction may come from a quieter place, where desire, fear, memory, and possibility touch one another before they become a story. Once you choose, stay with that number, even if another phoenix begins to look more beautiful or more powerful. Changing your answer can sometimes be the old pattern itself, the part of you that doubts an instinct as soon as it becomes clear. Stay with me, because each phoenix holds both a gift and a shadow. The gift shows the strength your inner life is trying to recover. The shadow shows the protection that may still be blocking it. A red flame may speak of courage that only appears in crisis, while a blue flame may reveal feelings kept behind calm control. Pink may point toward a desire softened for approval, gold toward authority burdened by perfection, and green toward a life postponed by caring for everyone else. Before we begin, pause the video and leave your name in the comments, because naming yourself turns a passing impression into a personal commitment and gives this test its meaning. Only at the end will the full meaning become clear, when the symbol and the pattern finally meet in life unfolding within you. Then I will connect your choice to one concrete action so the insight can enter your real life today. If you chose option 1, this usually happens when part of you has grown tired of waiting for life to force the change you already feel. The red phoenix is not only a creature of fire, it is the image of courage that appears after endurance has reached its limit. Stay with me, because the first symbol hides a powerful loop. You may ignore discomfort until pain becomes permission. In Jungian language, fire can represent psychic energy, while the phoenix embodies the self that refuses to remain trapped inside an expired form. Your attraction to this blazing bird may signal that the warrior archetype is waking, but it is waking inside someone who has carried too much for too long. Perhaps you learned early that strength meant staying useful, calm, loyal, or silent, while the heat rose quietly beneath the surface. Maybe asking for help once brought disappointment, or perhaps your needs were noticed only when they became urgent enough to disturb everyone else. So you adapted, you endured, you waited. Then, when the pressure became unbearable, you moved with astonishing force. Pay attention to this. The shadow of the red phoenix is not anger itself, but the belief that only an emergency makes your desire legitimate. Its light is your bravery, your passion, and your ability to protect what matters when other people freeze or turn away. Its shadow appears when you keep proving your strength by remaining in places that repeatedly ask you to betray your own limits. Consider a familiar scene. You stay in a draining job, friendship, or relationship, noticing each warning sign but telling yourself that you can handle more. You answer late messages, accept one more demand, swallow one more insult, and promise yourself that tomorrow you will finally draw the line. But tomorrow arrives, and because nothing has exploded, you interpret survival as evidence that the situation is still acceptable. Then a final argument, betrayal, rejection, or exhaustion, gives you the permission you denied yourself, and suddenly your decision seems obvious. Here is the loop to remember. You do not lack courage. You may be waiting for pain to authorize the courage already living in you. That distinction matters because the warrior becomes whole not when every battle is won, but when it learns which battles never deserved its blood. Jung might describe this as meeting the shadow, not rejecting the fierce part of you, but asking what grief, fear, or longing it has been guarding. The answer may surprise you. Beneath the heat there may be sadness, beneath defiance there may be disappointment, and beneath urgency there may be a simple wish to be respected. Stay with that image. The phoenix does not rise because it denies the ashes. It rises because it stops asking the ashes to become a home. Your rebirth may begin before the dramatic ending, in the quiet moment when you decide that discomfort is information rather than a command to endure. Ask yourself now, where are you pretending that you need more proof, when your body, attention, and energy have already delivered the message? What truth becomes visible only after you are exhausted? What boundary do you postpone, because speaking early feels less heroic than surviving late? You are not being asked to extinguish your fire. You are being invited to use it as light before it becomes destruction. Today, choose one situation you have been tolerating. Write one sentence naming what must change, and send one clear message before the day ends. Do not wait for anger to speak for you. Let the first honest action become proof that your courage can guide your life without needing another fire to begin. Let your new life begin before the fire. Now, if you choose option 2, this message usually appears when part of you desires closeness, honesty, and emotional warmth, while another part quietly fears what those things might cost. The blue phoenix rises in cold, luminous fire. Its wings resemble moonlight moving across ice, beautiful enough to attract you and distant enough to remain untouched. In popular Jungian symbolism, blue can suggest reflection, clarity, and the hidden world of thought, while the phoenix represents psychic energy, attempting to emerge from an identity that has become too narrow. Your choice may point toward the archetype of the solitary sage, the one who observes everything, understands more than they reveal, and remains composed when others lose direction. This is a real gift. You may notice subtle changes in tone, recognize patterns before anyone else, and find words for problems that confuse other people. Yet stay with me, because every gift casts a shadow when it becomes a permanent defense. The shadow of the blue phoenix appears when understanding an emotion replaces feeling it, or when calmness becomes a wall built to prevent disappointment from entering. Perhaps you learned that visible emotion created conflict, invited criticism, or gave someone else too much power. Maybe you once reached for comfort and found silence. Maybe you spoke honestly and watched your vulnerability become a weapon in another person's hands. So you became careful. You learned to retreat into thought, to explain pain until it sounded small, and to call distance peace. Pay attention to the conflict beneath this choice. One side of you wants to be known, but another side fears that being known means becoming exposed. Desire moves forward. Fear pulls back. You may feel both movements in the same moment, especially when someone begins to matter. Imagine an ordinary evening. A person you care about sends a message that feels dismissive. You read it twice, feel the first sting in your chest, and begin typing an honest reply. Then you erase it. You tell yourself they are probably busy, that you are reacting too strongly, or that discussing it would make you seem needy. The next day you answer politely, but with less warmth. Nothing openly breaks, yet something quietly freezes. They sense the distance and step back. You take their retreat as proof that opening up would never have been safe. Here is the tension. The protection creates the very loneliness it was designed to prevent. The blue phoenix does not ask you to abandon discernment or reveal everything to everyone. It asks you to notice when silence is wisdom and when silence is fear wearing the mask of control. Jung described the shadow as what the conscious personality excludes, not because it is always dangerous, but because it does not fit the image we believe we must maintain. If your persona is calm, capable, and independent, your shadow may hold the softer voice that says, "I was hurt, I miss you, I need clarity, or I do not want to carry this alone." That voice is not weakness. It may be the warmth hidden inside the blue flame. Ask yourself, when did self-control become self-concealment? What feeling do you explain most quickly, because allowing it to exist would require a decision? Are you protecting your peace, or protecting yourself from the risk of being answered honestly? Stay with that last question. There may be someone who has never truly rejected your needs because you have never allowed those needs to become visible. And here is the turning point. Connection cannot respond to what remains hidden. Your rebirth begins when insight leaves the mind and enters a real conversation. Today, set a timer for 15 minutes. Write down one feeling you have minimized and one clear need connected to it. Then send a message containing both before the timer ends. Keep it simple. Name what happened, say how it affected you, and ask for one specific response. Do not explain away your emotion or apologize for having it. Let one honest sentence place warmth inside the cold light. The phoenix you chose is not telling you to lose your boundaries. It is reminding you that a boundary can have a door, and that opening it carefully is different from leaving yourself unprotected. If you could choose 3, it may be because your heart is tired of asking permission to want what it wants. The pink phoenix does not rise from violent fire, but from the quiet ache of a life shaped around being loved. Its wings carry rose and violet light, as if desire itself were trying to become visible without causing harm. You may know this feeling well. You want something deeply, then soften the wish before anyone can reject it. Stay close, because the story behind this choice is not about weakness. It is about a powerful gift turned inward. In simple Jungian language, this phoenix can awaken the lover archetype, the part that longs to meet life with openness and beauty. Its light is sensitivity, imagination, warmth, and the rare ability to notice what another person cannot yet say. Its shadow begins when connection feels safer than truth, so you edit yourself to preserve the bond. Perhaps an old schema taught you that affection arrives when you are easy, agreeable, useful, attractive, or calm. Perhaps disappointment once appeared on a face you loved whenever your real preference created inconvenience. So the persona formed, kind, flexible, charming, and skilled at becoming what the room seemed to need. That persona may have protected you, yet avoidance slowly entered each moment when a choice required risk. You did not always avoid action. Sometimes you avoided the possibility that your action might reveal a self others would not prefer. Imagine a Monday morning when your manager offers 2 projects and asks which one you truly want. One project excites you, but it is visible, uncertain, and likely to expose your ideas to judgment. The other is familiar, safe, and easy to complete without asking anyone to see more of you. You smile and say either is fine, while the brighter answer folds its wings somewhere inside your chest. Days later, resentment appears, not because someone chose badly, but because you surrendered the choice before it was made. Here is an unexpected twist. See what happens next. When you finally admit what you wanted, nobody laughs, leaves, or calls you selfish. They simply ask why you never said so. The mini-climax is quiet, yet it changes the whole scene. The feared rejection was not outside you, but rehearsed within you. This does not mean every desire will be welcomed, or every decision will bring praise. It means your life cannot answer a preference that your persona keeps translating into silence. Jung saw growth as a movement toward wholeness, where rejected parts return and enter conscious life. For you, that movement may begin when the hidden voice stops waiting to be chosen and starts choosing. Notice the difference between demanding that everyone agree and allowing your own answer to exist. Authenticity is not loudness. It is the steady act of letting a real preference survive the fear around it. Ask yourself where you say maybe when the honest answer is yes, and where you say yes because no might disappoint someone. What commitment keeps fading because you enjoy imagining it more than risking a visible beginning? What promise to yourself has been delayed by the hope that certainty will arrive before action? The pink phoenix does not ask you to become careless with love. It asks you to stop disappearing inside it. Its rebirth is a return to the person who can love others without abandoning the one who is doing the loving. Today, set a timer for 15 minutes. Choose one decision you have delayed. Write your honest answer and complete one action that makes the commitment real before the timer ends. Keep the promise small enough to finish, but clear enough that tomorrow cannot pretend you never chose it bravely. If you chose 4, you may be standing at the tense border between control and surrender, wanting change while fearing that one honest movement could make you lose something you have worked hard to protect. The golden phoenix appears composed, radiant, and almost untouchable. Its wings rise with order, symmetry, and authority, as if every feather already knows where it belongs. That beauty may have drawn you because part of you longs for the same certainty. You want to know what comes next. You want the plan, the promise, and the proof that nothing important will collapse when you finally loosen your grip. Yet this symbol carries a quiet contradiction. A phoenix cannot be reborn while preserving every part of its former shape. Something must be released, and that is exactly where your inner tension begins. In simple Jungian terms, the golden bird can represent the ruler archetype, the part of the psyche that creates structure, protects what matters, and turns disorder into direction. Its light is leadership, responsibility, discipline, and the ability to remain steady when other people become confused. You may be the person others call when a decision must be made, a problem must be solved, or a difficult moment needs someone who will not disappear. But stay with this, because the shadow of the ruler does not always look cruel or demanding. Sometimes it looks like preparation without end, standards that never feel complete, and a constant need to manage details before allowing yourself to rest. You do this more often than you let yourself admit. You call it being careful, being responsible, or thinking ahead. Yet beneath those reasonable words, there may be a deeper fear. If you stop controlling the situation, you may lose respect, safety, love, status, or the version of yourself that knows how to survive. Perhaps change once arrived without warning. Maybe someone unreliable forced you to become the reliable one. Maybe mistakes were remembered longer than your efforts, or uncertainty made the emotional atmosphere around you impossible to trust. So you learned to watch everything. You anticipated reactions, prepared for disappointment, and limited your choices to what you could explain, defend, and control. That strategy may have saved you from chaos, but limitations become a shadow when they continue governing a life that is now asking for expansion. Imagine an ordinary evening. Someone offers to take responsibility for a task you usually handle. You say yes, but your body remains alert. You check their progress, rewrite part of their work, and prepare a second plan in case they fail. When they make one small mistake, you feel the familiar conclusion rise inside you. This is why I must do everything myself. You finish the task. Everyone praises your competence, and once again you are left exhausted and alone inside your success. Notice the hidden cycle. Control prevents disappointment, but it also prevents others from becoming trustworthy. Perfection protects the result, but it can quietly imprison the person producing it. Jung described the shadow as the part of us that remains outside the identity we consciously defend. If your identity is capable, decisive, and composed, your shadow may contain the frightened part that does not know what will happen when the plan changes. It may also contain the softer part that wants help, rest, surprise, and a life not measured only by how well everything is managed. The fear of change is rarely just fear of the future. Often it is fear that the future will expose the limits of an old identity. Ask yourself what you believe would happen if you allowed someone else to choose. What are you afraid of losing if you say no to the role that keeps everyone dependent on you? What are you afraid of discovering if you say yes to an opportunity you cannot completely control? Pay attention now, because this is the turning point. Surrender does not mean abandoning judgment. It means recognizing which responsibility is truly yours and which responsibility you continue carrying, because being needed feels safer than being free. The Golden Phoenix does not ask you to become careless. It asks you to build authority inside yourself so that uncertainty outside you no longer decides your worth. Today, choose one unresolved situation and give it a complete answer before the day ends. Say a clear yes if it genuinely belongs to the life you are building, or say a firm no if you have kept it open only because you fear disappointing someone or losing control. Write the answer first, speak it without adding excuses, and do not soften it afterward. Let that single decision show you that surrender is not the loss of power. Sometimes it is the moment your power finally stops being afraid. If you chose 5, transformation may no longer feel like a distant wish. It may feel like a force already moving beneath your ordinary life, pressing against routines, roles, and promises that have become too small for the person you are becoming. The green phoenix does not rise with the violence of an explosion. It rises like a root-breaking stone, like the first green shoot appearing through ground that seemed empty. Its movement is patient, but it is not passive. That distinction matters. You may have spent a long time telling yourself that you are waiting for the right moment, when part of you already knows that waiting has become another way of remaining unchanged. This phoenix speaks of dynamism, renewal, and the courage to break with an established order that once gave you safety. Perhaps you are known as the reliable one, the patient one, or the person who keeps everything together. You notice what others need, adapt quickly, and carry responsibilities without asking for recognition. These qualities are real strengths, yet every strength can become a hiding place. Your ability to endure may keep you inside situations that no longer nourish you. Your compassion may become a reason to postpone a necessary boundary. Your patience may quietly turn into permission for the same pattern to repeat. You recognize this more deeply than you usually say aloud. In simple Jungian language, the green phoenix points toward individuation, the process of becoming more fully yourself by bringing separated parts of your life back together. It is not about becoming perfect or abandoning everyone who depends on you. It is about having the courage to integrate the person you have been with the person who is trying to emerge. The caring part remains, but it no longer erases the ambitious part. The loyal part remains, but it stops confusing loyalty with self-abandonment. The cautious part is heard, but it is no longer allowed to make every decision. This is where the subtle tension begins. You may say that you want change, but your daily choices continue protecting the old structure. Imagine that there is a conversation you have postponed for weeks. You know what needs to be said. You rehearse it while driving, in the shower, or just before sleep. You promise yourself that tomorrow you will speak, but when tomorrow arrives, the other person seems tired, the timing feels imperfect, or a smaller problem demands your attention. You delay again, and for a moment you feel relief. Then the relief becomes heaviness because the unsaid truth has not disappeared. It has simply returned to the body. Or perhaps the pattern appears in a habit. You decide each evening that the next morning will be different, yet you wake and enter the same sequence before your intention has time to become action. You check the same screen, accept the same demand, or postpone the same decision. The established order survives not because it is good, but because it is familiar. Pay attention here. Familiarity can imitate safety, even when it is slowly draining your vitality. The green phoenix reaches its inner turning point when you realize that your life may not require a dramatic collapse. It may require one movement that the old version of you cannot undo. Individuation begins in such moments when insight becomes behavior and a hidden truth receives a visible form. You do not need to destroy your entire routine tonight. You do need to stop pretending that understanding the pattern is the same as leaving it. Courage is not always a leap. Sometimes it is the quiet refusal to return to the exact place where you began. Ask yourself what decision remains unfinished because finishing it would change how others see you. Which conversation do you avoid because the current discomfort feels easier than the consequences of honesty? What daily habit keeps you connected to an identity you have already outgrown? The answers may be uncomfortable, but discomfort is not always a warning to retreat. Sometimes it is the feeling of an old structure losing authority. Your transformation becomes real when the new self receives evidence that it is allowed to exist. Today, choose the one conversation you have postponed, write a message that names the subject clearly, and send it with a specific time for speaking before the day ends. Do not explain everything in the message, and do not leave the date uncertain. Make the step small, calm, and irreversible. Once it is sent, resist the impulse to soften or withdraw it. Let that simple act mark the line between imagining change and participating in it. The green phoenix is not asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to stop abandoning the person who has already begun to return. This choice reveals a pattern common to every phoenix and every person who felt drawn to its fire. Choice was never random. Each bird showed a different way of avoiding pain while repeating a familiar response that once offered shelter within. The red flame fought the danger, the blue flame withdrew, and the pink flame changed itself to keep connection alive again. The golden flame controlled outcomes, while the green flame served others and postponed its own beginning all this time. These were not separate stories, but variations of a hidden fear. The fear that change will take away what protects you now. That protection may look wise, strong, loving, calm, or patient, yet it can become a cage when life asks for movement once more. In Jungian language, the shadow is not evil. It is the part of us left outside the story our conscious mind prefers to repeat. Your shadow may hold anger beneath kindness, need beneath independence, or courage hidden beneath endless preparation. Wholeness begins when these rejected parts are welcomed back and given a place beside the identity you know as yourself. This is integration, not the destruction of who you were, but the meeting of survival with a wider form of freedom inside us. The phoenix matters because it does not deny the ashes. It uses them as proof that endings can become raw material for life. Nothing you faced was wasted. Every boundary, every silence, and every delay now carries information about your next step. You have accomplished something real by staying long enough to recognize the hidden mechanism beneath your own choice. Recognition is not a small victory, because repetition loses power the moment its familiar shape becomes fully visible. Avoidance survives through vagueness, so the brain says, "I will act later, perhaps soon, or when the perfect moment appears." Repetition survives through familiarity, so the older response feels true simply because you have practiced it before. Hidden fear survives by talking in reasonable voices, telling you to wait, protect everyone, prepare more, or remain quiet. These voices are not enemies. They are frightened guardians repeating instructions learned during an earlier season. Integration means thanking those guardians for their service, then deciding if their commands still fit your life well. You do not need to betray your strength, your calm, your love, your discipline, or your care to move beyond their limits today. Growth asks only that each gift stop ruling every moment and become one conscious tool among many other choices each day. A fresh beginning rarely arrives as certainty. It begins when one honest deed becomes stronger than one familiar excuse. You may still feel alarm after choosing differently, but fear does not erase progress. It proves that movement is real now. Accomplishment is not the absence of doubt. It is the moment you keep a promise after doubt asks you to retreat in real life. The real test begins after this video, when your chosen symbol meets the next message, boundary, habit, or a decision in life. That ordinary moment will reveal whether insight became action or whether the old pattern still chooses before you act. Do not demand perfection from the next step. Call only for honesty, direction, and one act that cannot be quietly undone now. Today, choose a pattern your phoenix revealed, name the fear beneath it, and take one direct step in the opposite direction. Write the message, send the answer, cancel the promise, schedule the meeting, or declare the boundary before sleep tonight. Then let the new beginning be quiet but real, because a life changes when awareness becomes a choice you keep day after day. Before you leave, take one quiet breath and return to the phoenix that called you first. Do not rush past what you recognized, because a symbol becomes meaningful when you carry its message into an ordinary moment. Please indicate your chosen number in the comments. Please type your name. There is something powerful in placing your name beside your choice, because it turns a private reaction into a small declaration that you are willing to see yourself more honestly. You do not need to explain everything. Simply write the number, write your name, and notice what you feel as you make the choice visible. Your comment may become the first record of the moment when you stopped circling the same fear and chose to move toward a new beginning. If one sentence in this reading reached a place you usually protect, hold on to it. Do not turn it into another beautiful idea that disappears as soon as the screen goes dark. Carry it into the message you need to send, the boundary you need to speak, or the promise you need to keep. A phoenix rises only after the old form can no longer contain its life, and perhaps this is your moment to stop asking the past for permission. Like this video if the experience gave language to something you had been carrying alone. Let that simple gesture mark the fact that you were present for your own reflection instead of looking away. Subscribe and stay close if you want each new symbol to reveal another piece of the inner story you are learning to understand. This journey is not about finding a perfect answer. It is about noticing which answer continues echoing after the explanation ends. You have already crossed the first threshold by recognizing the pattern, but recognition becomes transformation only when it changes what you do next. When the next difficult moment arrives, remember the color, the fire, and the feeling that first drew your attention. Let it remind you that the part of you asking for change is not a stranger. It is a part that has finally gathered enough courage to speak. Do not wait for certainty to bless the path ahead, because the next honest step can teach you more than another hour of hesitation. Your number is now more than a choice on a screen. It is a small flame you can carry into the life waiting beyond this moment. Take it seriously, but hold it gently, and let your next action become the silent evidence that a new chapter has begun. Stay awake now. Watch the next test on your screen right now.